One of the hottest topics of debate right now within the Cowboys community is what the hell happened in that blowout loss, the most embarrassing loss that any of us as fans have ever experienced in front of 40 million people on Fox in the wild card round of the playoffs against the Green Bay Packers. The first person everyone's going to want to point their finger at is obviously going to be the quarterback, Dak Prescott. The quarterbacks get the most credit. They're also going to get the most blame whenever things go wrong. And this time, there are two plays in particular that everyone's pointing towards saying this is the reason that Dak Prescott lost us this game. However, we have Super Bowl winning and Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner here to break down the film and tell us exactly what it is we're seeing on the field and why it's happening. Football is one of the most interconnected sports in American sports, meaning that there's always cause and effect and actions and reactions that take place within any given play that leads to either its success or its failure. This time, Kurt Warner breaks down what actually happened on those two interceptions that Dak Prescott threw against the Green Bay Packers, and what he breaks down to is actually highlights a much deeper rooted issue than just quote-unquote, Dak sucks. Kurt Warner's not the only former player that had some pointed criticism for the execution of these plays versus just Dak bad as a response to why some of these things were happening. On the first interception that he threw to Brandon Cooks that Jair Alexander was able to come away with, Cole Beasley posted just a horseshit route when he first initially saw it. Obviously, you will want more elaboration coming from a professional receiver that actually played the exact position that Brandon Cooks essentially has been asked to play for the Dallas Cowboys. This route right here is a route that Cole Beasley 100% will be asked to run normally, and it's also a route that Brandon Cooks usually wouldn't really be asked to run because he's usually more of a down the field, stretch the field type of guy. So obviously you're going to have a fan ask him, genuinely, could you elaborate on how it's a bad route? And he does elaborate. It's a bad route because there is no sudden burst to the flat. He doesn't look for the ball when he's going to the flat, and his shoulders don't get parallel with the sideline, so it's not believable. And because his shoulders aren't parallel to the sideline, it takes him way too many steps to get out of it, which means execution-wise, just from a receiver standpoint, that play had a ton of things going against it, and there was a high chance that the DB would be able to beat him to the spot just like he did. But now that you've seen it from the receiver standpoint, let's listen to Kurt Warner break down both of those interceptions, and then we'll get back and wrap up the show.
All right, let's jump into the second interception. Because again, to me, so many details involved here, okay? And so what you're going to see on this play is Dallas is really just going to run a triple slant up here. Slant, slant, and then an under, a little more delayed kind of slant on the top, okay? So let me let it play out here, and you see it. There it is, triple slant, okay? And then the interception, okay? So to me, lots of different factors that play into this. The first thing I'm always going to say is I will never understand why a team asks a quarterback to make a play fake on a quick throw. Okay, quick throw has timing, needs to get out fast. So right here, they asked Dak to give a little bit of a play fake. Okay, never want to play fake on a quick, my personal opinion, because I want the ball out on time, and anything that delays me being able to get the ball out on time is my first issue. So a play fake, which to me, he can't get the ball out on time, can't be set on time with the play fake. Okay, the other thing I don't understand is why do you have your back to the strong side? Now, I understand he crosses over and ends up going to the weak side, but when I've got quick slants going to this side, A, it happens quick. And so B, if I put a fourth receiver over to that side, all it's naturally going to do is bring another defender, or possibly bring another defender. Here, they actually don't really bring another defender to that side when they bring pressure, and you see that they're fine numbers-wise. But just in general, putting a fourth receiver back to that side is going to bring an extra defender to that side, and I'm bringing everybody inside anyway, so why would I want the back to be front side? Again, I'm sure there's an answer out there. I just want to hear it. So if anybody's got it, let me know. I want to understand it. Now, putting him over there on a deeper route, no problem, because he's going to cross over and we're going to be able to use it in a certain way, but I don't understand why on this particular play we're doing that. Okay, so now into the triple slants. Okay, so first thing we see is Green Bay is going to bring pressure. Dallas does a great job of picking up the pressure over to that side. So you're not really in a hot situation front side. Okay, so that's first part, which is good that you're not having to throw it hot. But I don't know if you guys remember the video that I did earlier in the year, and it wasn't on a triple slant, it was on a double slant combination. But one of my biggest arguments was when you have both slants break at the same depth, it's really hard for a quarterback because it's hard to get a read when the timing of both plays is exactly the same. Or when the inside slant that's supposed to influence somebody is running in the same timing that you have to throw the next slant, it's really hard to read. So first thing I want you guys to see is right here, both guys are breaking at exactly the same depth once again. To me, doesn't make sense. I want my inside slant always going quicker than my next slant, so I get a chance as a quarterback to actually read what this guy does. If I have to throw both of these in the same timing, they're both happening at the same time, I'm inevitably going to be late to the outside slant if I'm reading it. So right here, you see it. Boom, both of them are breaking inside at the exact same depth. So now, timing inside, timing outside are exactly the same. And look how many steps CeeDee Lamb gets into his slant. 1, 2, 3, 4, before the ball is going to get to him. Can't have it. To me, on a slant, it's got to be out as they're breaking, so the ball's in his hands before he's taken 3 or 4 steps out of it. Okay, so to me, it's not even as much about CeeDee Lamb here as it is Brandon Cooks. So what I would want is I would want Brandon Cooks to take 1 step and then come inside right now. Get inside this defender. So Packers are dropping this defender down, Savage down into a zone dog. And so we need to cross his face as fast as possible. So when we cross his face, now he's got to make a decision. So when he makes that decision, now as a quarterback, I can throw it. Now, the first thing I'm always thinking here, because they bring pressure and they drop this guy down, is there's a soft window in there, almost like a hot situation. So even though it's not hot, I have everything protected. That's the soft part of the zone. So I want to almost treat it like a hot. And I'm probably going to throw this inside slant. This guy dropping down, that's the gimme throw. But because everything and the timing is all the same, Dak gets the read that he wants. This guy steps inside. Savage steps inside, and he should be able to hit this second slant here. But the problem to me is when he hits it. Boom, ball's out. And if CeeDee Lamb takes another 2 steps and we get this read, the ball's going to be out in that first window right there. That's where the ball needs to be thrown on double slant. Right now, if he gets this read, this guy's inside the hash, ball needs to be on CeeDee Lamb as he's breaking out of his slant. Whether it's CeeDee, whether it's Brandon, something's wrong timing-wise here. So they both come out of it. And so this guy is really technically able to, if you watch Savage, he plays the inside one because he steps inside. He's inside Brandon Cooks right here. If I'm set and ready to throw it, this ball's coming out to number 2. And Savage doesn't have the ability to play both of these guys. So to me, lots of different issues. The play fake makes Dak slow. The timing of the 2 slants is exactly the same, which again gives us problems to be able to read and decipher. Is the inside guy open? If not, then I get the second guy. But everything happened at the same time. It makes a quarterback panic because he's late to everything, and he's forcing things instead of being able to understand what exactly the defense is doing. Brandon Cooks could have helped by getting inside sooner. And Dak come back, go, I'm going to take this one inside because they're bringing pressure. I'm going to take it unless this guy jumps it hard. Then I can get to the one outside of it. But when you're making a play fake and then you have to read it all and get it out on time, it leads to exactly what we see here in a pick six. This guy is already committed to this route. There's your corner route. There's nobody else out here, right? That's why we run this. We're trying to pull down everything else that's out by the numbers. There is nothing else there except CeeDee Lamb. That to me is the throw right there. Okay, now one thing that can kind of mess this up a little bit is you notice that Brandon Cooks is in front of CeeDee Lamb. So that's a hard thing here because if we're reading the corner first, I would like the corner to go first. Now, you have to change up your release patterns all the time, so I get it. I understand you change it up. But we really want the corner be happening a little bit faster because you see corner isn't quite breaking out yet until this guy's on the return. So that's something that can mess with the quarterback because he's like, okay, the return's coming out of it. I want to throw it on time, and my corner's not quite there. But regardless, if I'm reading this defender and he jumps down, my throw should be up over the top to the corner. If I don't have it, I should work to the backside right here. Okay, so that's the first part, obviously leads to an interception. Okay, here's the second part that is important to me. And now I understand that we're trying to make this look exactly like the otter concept. So I'm trying to push this guy up 5 yards and grab the corner. That makes sense to me. All I would say is the hardest thing is when we run in a return, because defenders like to sit at 5-6 yards. So the toughest thing when we're running a return is to run our route to 5 or 6 yards and then break out and come back under, because it's hard to get back underneath the defender that's sitting at that depth. That's the depth they want to sit at. So to me, we either got to push them past that depth or we've got to run the route short of that depth. Okay, so we got a corner over the top, so I don't want to push this deeper, but I would like to see Brandon Cooks run this shorter. Now, again, I said, I understand the details of why we would want to make it look exactly the same, but I would cheat this a little bit. And what I would want here is I would want Brandon Cooks to get width right now and be flatter. Okay, so not quite as much depth and get width. So when he gets width, right, that's what makes this guy commit. Once I get outside of him, this guy's got to make a decision. If I'm outside of him and he wants to go back, he's given me, in most, the out, right? Again, we're not talking about the return because it's really based off of the out. But if I get outside of him and he goes back, this out is open every time. So once we get outside of him, that's what makes him commit. That's what gives us our read. So I would like to see him get flatter and wider right now. I would like to see him not get as much depth, because you see how he's getting to the depth where he's about 2 yards away from Jair Alexander. And when he comes out of it, see how Jair Alexander doesn't have to come up the field, doesn't have to attack Brandon Cooks. He's sitting in his same spot and can cover this. We always want to make defenders move. They make them come to us, otherwise we're going to win. So I always talk about it's width and depth. Width of this defender, but he also has to cover some sort of depth. Get deep, come up, whatever. So I'd love to see Brandon Cooks get a little wider here, not go quite as deep, almost as if it's more of a flat route. 2 to 3 yards, get outside here, flatter. Why? What does that do? Okay, so I get out here flatter, I'm outside of Jair Alexander. He's got to make a decision one way or another. But the key to that is when I'm coming back in. So if I'm two yards shorter here, Brandon Cooks. So Jair Alexander's on the 8 and I'm on the 5 and I'm running this return. I have 3 yards of space to be able to get out of this and get back underneath Jair Alexander, right? See here, Brandon Cooks ends up falling all the way to 7.5, 8 yards, right where Jair Alexander is. So he doesn't have to cover any depth. He doesn't have to chase down to cut this off. He can sit kind of in his spot. So here he's able to match and undercut this or beat Brandon Cooks to the spot. If Brandon Cooks takes this flatter, in my opinion, and wider right here, boom, right now, get this guy moving this way towards the numbers, then he's also got to come down to close the gap. Now you return back underneath him, and it's much easier to beat him underneath and get that leverage that you want. So even if he's jumping you and is on your back, you're underneath him so you can protect the ball. You can be in between man and ball right here. And so those to me are a few of the details that ultimately lead to this interception right here. And so that's why I say different ways to do it. But to me, those little details are so vital to give the quarterback a read, okay? The quicker and wider I go, the sooner I'm getting a read off of this guy. The more dramatic the read has to be on this guy, that he can't just sit at 8. He's got to move. He's got to jump. He's got to run out here. That's easier for me if I'm Dak Prescott than him kind of holding in that same area, 2-3 yard box there on the numbers. Make him move. Make him give me a definitive read right now, and then details of the route to win off of the route and to avoid different issues like this.
So there you have it. Kurt Warner has already shown you exactly what it is that you should have been seeing on that play through the eyes of a quarterback, through the eyes of a guy who played this game at a very high level and achieved the highest goal possible, which is winning the Super Bowl. He showed you that fundamentally there are issues with the way these players are being taught and the way these plays are being designed. And these are some of the same issues that we saw crop up earlier in the year when we lost to the Cardinals, when we lost to the 49ers. We saw some of these same redundant route trees, conservative play calling, and the lack of execution that would oftentimes lead to worst case scenario on some of these plays. Either way, you guys let me know down in the comments below, what did you learn from this video? Did Kurt Warner breaking down this film change the way you look at those mistakes at all? And does this give you even more concern about why we should be getting rid of our coaching staff? Either way, y'all know we used to end these videos. We used to say, how about these Cowboys? But we really can't say that no more. So we got to say, we still them same old Cowboys. I see y'all in the next one. Take it away, Pastor.
Calling me, texting me, paging me, asking me, am I still them boys? Y'all usually check on me. Listen. I'm still them boys. Hey! Woo! Hey! I'm still them boys.